Welcome to ELS 100, where we discuss our basic English language arts skills. For today's lesson, we're discussing text evidence, which is how we answer the question, how do we know our answer is right when we ask a question? Let's start by talking about the three little pigs. If someone were to ask, how did the wolf knock down the little pigs' homes? What would you answer? Well, we know that the wolf blew down the first two houses after he huffed and he puffed, but he wasn't able to knock down the last house. We know this because the story tells us this. This is an example of text evidence. Text evidence is information from the text that proves our answer to a question is right or correct. Examples of text evidence include what the text says, illustrations and pictures, captions, and any other graphics we might see in the text, such as maps, bar graphs, and timelines. How do we cite text evidence? Well, we use sentence stems to cite text evidence. For example, which, funny enough, is also one of our sentence stems, we can use the sentence stems according to the text, the author says, or in the illustration. Can you think of some sentence stems to use when you're citing text evidence? Now, let's read The Tale of Peter Rabbit so that we can practice answering questions using text evidence. Once upon a time, there were four little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. Now, my dears, said old Mrs. Rabbit one morning, you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. McGregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Mrs. McGregor. Now run along and don't get into mischief. I am going out. Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Now, let's answer the question. Why did Peter's mom tell her children to stay away from the garden? Well, if I look back at the story, I can answer by saying, according to the text, Peter's mom said this because Mr. Rabbit, Peter's dad, had an accident there and ended up in a pie. Now, let's answer some questions together so we can practice citing text evidence. Remember to use text evidence in your answer. Where did Peter's mom go? I'm going to pause now to allow you some time to look back at the text for your answer. Now, how will we start our answer? According to the text. That's great. Yes, we can start with according to the text. Now, so our answer now should say, according to the text, Peter's mom went to the baker's. What happened to Peter's dad? I'm going to pause one more time to allow you some time to look at the text. All right, now how will we start our answer? Okay, we can start with in the story, Peter's mom says that Peter's dad had an accident in Mr. McGregor's garden and ended up in a pie. Awesome job, everyone. Now remember, text evidence is a basic skill that we need in English language arts to answer questions about the texts that we read.